Welcome to another deep dive. You know I love it when our listeners share research with us.
Yeah.
And this one that you sent over, mental health assessment, analyzing body language patterns and emotional expression,
Yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
it's incredible. We talk a lot on the show about the power of AI,
Absolutely.
but this is like next level stuff.
It really is. I mean, it's highlighting this huge potential for technology to understand mental health better.
Yeah, and I love how they're doing it,
Yeah.
teaching AI to recognize emotions, but not through what we say, but through body language.
Right.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
I mean, imagine a world where technology can kind of see how we're feeling,
Yeah.
even before we say anything.
Like he just knows.
It just knows.
Wow.
And that's kind of what this research is pointing to.
That's the future right there. Yeah.
The future. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's really a fascinating space. You know, you've got psychology and technology and human connection all coming together.
Yeah.
And we always think about communication as words. But like, how much do we actually say with our facial expressions or our posture, even just the way we're moving our hands?
So true. And we do it all the time without even thinking about it.
Subconsciously, yeah.
Like it's this whole secret language that we're all speaking.
Exactly. And I think some studies even say that like 50% of what we communicate is actually nonverbal.
Wow, that's huge.
It's a lot, right?
That's more than half.
I know. It's crazy. And it makes you think about, for virtual assistants,
Oh, yeah.
especially in mental health settings, how important it is for them to be able to understand these nonverbal cues.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine, like, talking to a therapist
Right.
who can't read my facial expressions
Yeah.
or, like, tell if I'm feeling tense.
Couldn't read you at all.
This wouldn't work.
It
And
wouldn't. It would be weird.
so weird.
So yeah, this research is really important, laying the groundwork for technology to understand us on a deeper level, a more human level.
Yeah.
But it's challenging because we all express emotions so differently.
Right? Like, what might look like sadness in one person could be anger in another.
Exactly.
Or, like, what if you're just tired?
Right. Or like, what if I'm just thinking really hard?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So context matters too.
It's complex.
It is a very complex task.
So how are researchers even starting to tackle this? I mean, how do you even begin to teach a computer to read all of those subtle cues?
Right. Well, so in this research, they're using this thing called the emotic data set,
Okay.
which is so cool. And this is like, I think, kind of really a game changer for how we study this whole area of AI understanding human emotions,
Okay.
particularly for mental health.
So what is it?
So basically, it's a huge collection of images, like around 34,000 images.
Wow.
I know.
That's a lot of pictures.
Tons of pictures. And each image is tagged with one of 26 different emotional categories.
26. I mean, that's so much more than just like happy, sad, angry.
Oh, yeah, way more nuance.
Right?
Like you get into things like confusion or interest or even boredom.
Wow. And are these images like, are they staged photos or?
Yeah. No. This is what's really cool about it. It's people in their daily lives, just interacting with each other,
Yeah.
expressing these emotions naturally.
So it's like a real snapshot
Yeah.
of human emotion.
Exactly.
Great.
I love that. And all its complexity, which is why it's so valuable for training AI.
Yeah.
It's like giving AI a chance to learn from real-world examples.
Real people.
Not just, some textbook definition.
Yeah, textbook emotions.
Exactly.
So they took all of this data, all these amazing photos,
Yeah.
and they used a deep learning model called ResNet 50 to analyze it.
Yeah. Have you heard of that one?
That one sounds familiar, but I'm not sure I could really explain it.
Okay, so basically think of it as like a super-powered pattern recognition machine.
Okay.
And it's especially good at picking up on these subtle differences in images.
Oh, wow.
So when you feed it this emotic data set, it starts to see how our bodies and our faces change
Yeah.
depending on what we're feeling.
It's learning to read us.
It's like giving a computer this emotional magnifying glass.
I love that visual.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, so they're basically teaching this computer to read our emotions by showing it thousands of examples.
Right.
But the real question is, how well does it actually work? I mean, can it really tell if someone's anxious just by looking at a picture of them?
Well, let's just say the results are pretty incredible.
Okay, lay it on me.
So the ResNet 50 model, it was able to accurately identify emotions in the images 94.5% of the time.
94.5%.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's really impressive.
Wow, so it really can read our emotions.
He's getting there. Yeah.
That's incredible. And what I love is that it's not just focused on facial expressions.
Right.
They're looking at the whole body.
Yeah. The whole
Posture, gestures, everything.
Exactly.
Like we do as humans.
Yeah, like if you think about how you read someone's emotions, you don't just look at their face.
Well, you see their whole body language.
Or whole vibe.
Their vibe, exactly.
So they're looking at all of that, and they're even looking at contextual clues within the images.
Oh, interesting. So, like, what's going on in the background?
Yeah, like the environment, the other people around the subject, to see how that influences the emotions.
Wow. So they're really teaching AI to understand not just the individual, but like the whole picture.
Exactly. It's way more holistic and nuanced than what we've seen in other research.
So cool.
It is.
So where does this lead us? I mean, what are the potential applications for this kind of technology?
Well, that's where it gets really exciting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Think about human-computer interaction.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine virtual assistants that are truly empathetic,
Oh.
that can understand not just what you're saying, but how you're feeling.
I would love a virtual assistant that could actually sense if I was having a bad day
Right.
and like respond accordingly.
And like be helpful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, be helpful.
Not just like, oh, I don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, no, you need to read the room, virtual
In
assistant.
the room, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so empathetic virtual assistants. That's one thing.
Yeah, and then think about personalized mental health care.
Oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what if you could have a virtual therapist?
Yeah.
They could actually provide support that was tailored to your specific needs.
Exactly. And then you could think about early detection of mental health issues.
Oh, yeah.
Like using this technology to pick up on subtle changes in behavior that might indicate that someone's struggling.
That could be huge
It could be life-changing.
for so many people.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got empathetic virtual assistants. We've got personalized mental health care.
Yeah.
We've got early detection of mental health issues.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the beginning,
Just scratching the surface.
but it's already blowing my mind.
It is exciting, isn't it?
So exciting. But I have to ask,
Yeah.
are there any downsides?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, it sounds amazing,
It does.
but are there any potential downsides to this kind of technology?
Well, yeah. I mean, like any powerful tool,
Sure.
it needs to be approached thoughtfully, right? We have to think about potential for misuse or unintended consequences.
Right. Like you wouldn't just hand someone a scalpel
Exactly.
without proper training.
You need to know what you're doing.
You could really hurt someone.
So what are some of the things that we need to be cautious about as this technology develops?
Well, I think one of the big ones is data privacy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, we need to make sure that people's emotional data is being handled responsibly and ethically.
For sure. I mean, imagine if this technology fell into the wrong hands
Oh.
and was used to manipulate people or invade their privacy.
Yeah. That's a scary thought.
That's a nightmare.
We don't want that.
Definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah, so it's like just because we can do something doesn't always mean we should.
Right, exactly.
You know, we need to think carefully about the ethical implications before we unleash this kind of technology on the world.
Well said.
Thank you.
So we need to have these conversations.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
while the technology is still in its early stages,
It's the time. We need to establish those guidelines, those safeguards, to make sure it's used responsibly.
yeah, and for the benefit of humanity.
For good, not for evil.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to circle back to the research itself for a moment.
Okay.
You mentioned that they tested this ResNet 50 model on the emotic data set.
Yeah,
Can you walk us through like what they actually did and what they found?
sure. So basically, they trained the ResNet 50 model on the emotic data set, right?
Okay.
So feeding it all those thousands of images
Yeah.
and the corresponding emotional labels.
So it's like giving the model a crash course
Yeah, exactly.
in human emotion.
Like Emotion 101
Okay.
for AI.
And then they tested it.
Yeah, they wanted to see how well it had learned.
Right.
So they showed the model a new set of images
Okay.
that it hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And asked it to predict the emotions being expressed.
Okay.
And remember, they were working with 26 different emotional categories.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Not just a handful.
So this was a complex task.
It was a really complex task for the AI.
Yeah. But I mean, you said the results were impressive. So
They were very impressive.
how impressive are we talking?
So the model achieved an accuracy rate of over 94%.
What?
Yeah.
94%.
It correctly identified the emotions in like the vast majority of the images.
That's wild.
It's amazing.
That's so cool.
And they didn't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, tell me.
They dug deeper to understand how the model was actually making these predictions.
Okay, so they wanted to know how the AI was thinking.
Exactly.
So they were like looking inside the AI's brain.
Yeah, kind of like peering into the black box.
Okay, I like that.
Right, and what they found was so fascinating.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
So the model was picking up on these subtle cues in facial expressions,
Yeah.
especially around the eyes and the mouth.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are the areas of the face
Yeah.
that we use the most to express ourselves.
Totally.
But it was also paying attention to body posture and gestures.
Interesting. So it really was taking like a more holistic approach. Yeah.
It wasn't just relying on the face.
Yeah, it was reading the whole picture just like we do as humans.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It is.
So it wasn't just relying on like stereotypes or oversimplifications.
No, it was recognizing emotions in a much more nuanced and sophisticated way.
Okay, you've officially blown my mind.
Yeah.
This is seriously groundbreaking stuff.
I know. It's so cool, right?
So, but we got to keep going.
Yeah.
Because I need to know what's next. What are the researchers hoping to do with this technology?
Well, one of the areas they're really excited about is using this technology to personalize mental health care.
Okay, we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But can you elaborate, like, what would that actually look like in practice?
So imagine a world where therapists could use this technology
Okay.
to get a deeper understanding of their clients' emotional states.
Okay.
Like it could be like having an extra set of eyes and ears in the therapy room,
Okay.
helping therapists pick up on those subtle nonverbal cues that they might otherwise miss.
That's so interesting. And it's been really helpful for people who struggle to articulate their feelings verbally.
Absolutely. And it could help therapists tailor their approach to each client's individual needs,
Right.
leading to more effective and personalized treatment.
And I imagine this could also be incredibly useful for self-monitoring.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Like imagine having an app on your phone
Yeah.
that could track your emotional patterns over time.
Oh, wow.
So you could become more aware of your own triggers and develop healthier coping mechanisms.
That's like having a personal emotional coach
Right in your pocket.
right in my pocket.
Yeah, and it could empower people to be more proactive about managing their mental health.
That's incredible.
It is really exciting.
But of course, we need to acknowledge
Yes,
that there are also potential downsides.
of course.
We talked about privacy concerns earlier, but are there other ethical considerations that we need to be thinking about as this technology develops?
Oh, for sure.
Like what?
Well, one of the big concerns is the potential for bias in the algorithms.
Okay, can you explain that a little bit more?
So basically, if the data sets that are used to train these models
Yeah.
aren't diverse enough,
Okay.
the algorithms could end up reflecting the biases of the people who created them.
So for example, if the data set primarily includes images of people from one particular culture,
Right.
the model might not be as accurate at recognizing emotions in people from other cultures.
Exactly. And that could have some really serious consequences, especially if this technology is being used in sensitive areas like healthcare or law enforcement.
Right, because then you're talking about potentially misdiagnosing someone.
Exactly. Or
Right.
misinterpreting their behavior.
Yeah,
And that's not good.
that's not good at all.
So we really need to make sure that these algorithms are fair and equitable for everyone.
Regardless of their background
Exactly.
and their cultural identity.
Everyone deserves to be understood.
Absolutely. And that requires careful attention to the data that's being used to train these models. We need to make sure that those data sets are as diverse and representative as possible.
As diverse as humanity itself.
As diverse as humanity itself. I love that.
That's what we're going for.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits, the potential risks, the ethical considerations.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
What's the overall takeaway here? I mean, what do you think the future holds for this technology?
I think we're really just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
This technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we understand and interact with human emotion.
It's like opening up a whole new dimension of communication.
It really is, and that could have a huge impact on everything from our personal relationships to the way we design technology.
Wow.
But it's crucial that we proceed with caution and make sure this technology is developed and used responsibly.
I'm with you on that one.
Good.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I feel like I've learned so much about the potential of this technology.
Yeah, me too.
But also about the importance of those ethical considerations.
Right, they go hand in hand.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Of course, happy to be here.
And I'm sure our listeners are just as fascinated by this topic as we are.
I hope so.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to get your thoughts on one final question.
Okay, hit me with it.
If technology could accurately read our emotions,
Yeah.
do you think it would ultimately bring us closer together
Oh.
or drive us further apart?
That is a good question. That's a really deep question.
It is, right?
It's like a philosophical dilemma almost.
Right.
Like on the one hand, you could say, well, if we were all more aware of each other's emotions,
Yeah.
maybe it could lead to greater empathy and understanding.
Yeah, no more misunderstandings or hurt feelings.
Right.
Because we would know exactly what the other person was thinking and feeling.
Yeah, you know exactly where you stood.
Exactly.
No more guessing games.
But then on the other hand, I mean, there's something to be said for the mystery and complexity of human emotion, right?
Totally.
Like, part of what makes us human is our ability to kind of hide our true feelings sometimes.
Right.
Or like, put on a brave face even when we're hurting inside.
Exactly. It's like that whole fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah, and it makes me think about those sci-fi movies where everyone's emotions are like on display all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just seems so exhausting.
I know. It's like too much information.
Yeah, too much information.
You don't need to know everything all the time.
Exactly. And it kind of raises those questions about authenticity and vulnerability.
Right.
Like if we know that our emotions are being constantly monitored and analyzed, are we still going to be able to be our true selves?
That's a good question. Would we even want to be?
Yeah. Would we start to suppress our true feelings?
Yeah.
Or like try to present a more idealized version of ourselves?
It's like being on camera all the time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, you're always performing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's scary because would we even be able to be our true messy selves?
Right, like those little quirks, those
Yeah.
imperfections that make us who we are.
Yeah.
Would those still exist?
I don't know, it's a scary thought.
It is. It's something to think about.
So it all comes back to intention and agency,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
If we're going to use this technology, we need to be mindful of the potential impact it could have
Absolutely.
on our emotional lives and our relationships.
And our humanity, even.
Yeah, we need to be the ones in control of our emotions,
We do.
not the technology.
Right. It should be a tool,
A tool.
not a dictator.
I like that. And that brings us back to the importance of ethics and responsible development.
For sure.
We've got to get this right.
We do. This technology has so much potential.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to make sure that it's used in a way that benefits humanity.
Enhances our lives.
Makes us better.
Doesn't diminish them.
Right. Exactly.
Well said.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to circle back to the research itself for a moment.
Okay.
You mentioned that they tested this ResNet 50 model on the emotic data set.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what they actually did and what they found?
Sure. So they basically trained the ResNet 50 model on the emotic data set.
Okay.
Feeding it all those thousands of images and their corresponding emotional labels.
Like giving the model a crash course in human emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Emotion 101 for AI.
Okay.
And then they tested it.
Right. To see how well it learned.
Exactly. They showed the model a new set of images that I hadn't seen before and asked it to predict the emotions being expressed.
Okay.
And remember, they were working with 26 different emotional categories.
Right.
Not just the basic happy, sad, angry.
It was a pretty complex task.
Yeah, a really complex task.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, the results were really impressive.
Okay.
The model was able to achieve an accuracy rate of over 94%.
Wow.
Yeah, meaning it correctly identified the emotions in the vast majority of these images.
That's amazing.
It's pretty incredible, right?
Yeah, it really highlights how powerful this technology can be.
It does.
But they didn't stop there.
No, they didn't.
Tell me more.
They also wanted to understand how the model was actually making these predictions.
Okay, so they wanted to see what was going on inside the AI's brain.
Exactly, like peering inside the black box. And what they found was fascinating.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So the model was paying attention to these really subtle cues in facial expressions,
Okay.
particularly around the eyes and the mouth.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, those are like the most expressive parts of our face.
Yeah.
But it was also looking at body posture and gestures.
Oh, wow. So it was taking a more holistic approach.
It was.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't just relying on facial expressions alone.
That's really interesting.
So it was learning to read the whole picture, just like we do as humans.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that's really important because it shows that the model wasn't just relying on simple stereotypes or oversimplifications.
Okay.
It was learning to recognize emotions in a much more nuanced and sophisticated way.
So it was really learning.
It was learning.
That's amazing. Okay, so they've trained this AI. They've tested it. They've even peeked inside to see how it's thinking.
They really put it through its paces.
What's next? What are the researchers hoping to do with this technology?
Well, one of the areas they're particularly excited about is using this technology to personalize mental health care.
Okay, we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that might look like in practice?
Sure. So imagine a world where therapists could use this technology to gain a deeper understanding of their clients' emotional states.
Okay.
It's like having this extra set of eyes and ears in the therapy room,
Yeah.
helping therapists to pick up on those subtle nonverbal cues that they might otherwise miss.
Okay, that's interesting. And that could be incredibly valuable, especially for people who have a hard time articulating their feelings verbally.
Absolutely. And it could help therapists to tailor their approach to each client's individual needs,
Right.
leading to more effective and personalized treatment.
And I imagine this technology could also be useful for self-monitoring.
Totally.
Right.
Imagine having an app on your phone that can track your emotional patterns over time,
Okay.
helping you to become more aware of your own triggers and develop healthier coping mechanisms.
It's like having a personal emotional coach right in your pocket.
Exactly. And it could really empower people to take a more proactive role in managing their mental health.
That's amazing. But of course, we need to acknowledge that there are also potential downsides to this technology.
Of course.
We talked about privacy concerns earlier, but are there any other ethical considerations that we need to be thinking about?
Yeah, definitely. One concern is the potential for bias in the algorithms.
Okay, can you say more about that?
So if the data sets used to train these models aren't diverse enough, the algorithms could end up reflecting the biases of the people who created them.
So, for example, if the dataset primarily includes images of people from one particular culture,
Right.
the model might not be as accurate at recognizing emotions in people from other cultures.
Exactly. And that could have some really serious consequences, especially if this technology is used in sensitive areas like healthcare or law enforcement.
Yeah, because then you're talking about potentially misdiagnosing someone,
That is
misinterpreting their behavior.
exactly. And that's a big problem.
That's a huge problem.
So it's really important to make sure that these algorithms are fair and equitable for everyone.
Regardless of their background or their cultural identity.
Exactly. Everyone deserves to be understood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that requires careful attention to the data that's being used to train these models.
Right. We need to make sure that the data sets are as diverse and representative as possible.
As diverse as humanity itself.
Exactly. That's what we're aiming for.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits, the potential risks, the
Yeah.
ethical considerations.
Yeah, a lot to consider.
That's a lot.
It is.
What's the overall takeaway here? I mean, what do you think the future holds for this technology?
I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Okay.
This technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we understand and interact with human emotions.
It's like opening up this whole new dimension of communication.
It really is. And it could have a profound impact on everything from our personal relationships to the way we design technology.
Wow.
But it's so important that we proceed with caution and ensure that this technology is developed and used responsibly.
I'm with you on that one. This has been a truly fascinating deep dive.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I feel like I've learned so much about the potential of this technology, but also about the importance of those ethical considerations.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
They really do. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Of course. My pleasure. I always enjoy talking about this stuff.
And I'm sure our listeners are just as fascinated by this topic as we are.
I hope so.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to get your thoughts on one final question.
Okay, hit me. That's a tough one.
It's a big question.
It is, yeah.
So if technology could accurately read our emotions,
Okay.
do you think it would ultimately bring us closer together, or would it drive us further apart?
That's a really thought-provoking question.
It is, isn't it?
It really is.
Like, I keep going back and forth on it.
I know, me too. It's like this weird paradox.
Yeah.
Because, like, on the one hand, you could argue that if we were all more aware of each other's emotions, it could lead to, like, greater empathy and understanding.
Right, like no more misunderstandings,
Yeah.
no more hurt feelings.
Because you would just know.
You would know.
You would know exactly what the other person was thinking and feeling.
Yeah, no more guessing games.
No more game playing.
Exactly.
But then on the other hand, like, there's something to be said for the mystery of human emotion.
The complexity of it all.
Yeah, like part of what makes us human is our ability to, hide our true feelings sometimes.
Right.
Or to put on a brave face when we're hurting inside.
You know, it makes me think of those sci-fi movies
Oh, yeah.
where everyone's emotions are like on display all the time.
Oh, I hate those.
They freak me out a little bit.
I know, it's like too much.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you question like authenticity and vulnerability.
Right, like if we know that our emotions are being constantly monitored and analyzed.
Yeah.
Would we still be able to be our true selves?
And would we even want to be?
Right? Like, would we start to suppress our true feelings or try to present like a more idealized version of ourselves? It's almost like being on camera all the time, you know?
Oh my gosh.
You're always performing.
You're performing your emotions.
Exactly. And it's like, would those little quirks, those imperfections that make us who we are, would those still exist?
I don't know. It's a scary thought.
It's a little unsettling.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is it all comes back to intention and agency.
Yes.
Like, if we're going to use this technology,
Yeah.
we need to be mindful of the potential impact it could have on our emotional lives, our relationships,
Well, humanity.
our humanity.
Yeah, we need to be the ones in control of our emotions.
Not the technology.
Exactly. And should be a tool.
Not a dictator.
Like that, a tool, not a dictator.
And that brings us back to like the importance of ethics and responsible development.
Absolutely. We've got to get this right.
We do. This technology has so much potential.
It really does.
But it's up to us to make sure that it's used in a way that benefits humanity.
Makes us better. Enhances our lives.
Doesn't diminish them.
Doesn't diminish them. Well said.
Thank you.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
It has been.
I feel like I've learned so much
I've learned a lot too.
about the potential of this technology,
Mm.
but also about like the really important ethical considerations.
Right, they go hand in hand.
They do. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Of course, happy to be here anytime.
And to our listeners, thank you for sharing this research paper with us. We hope you found this deep dive insightful and engaging. And if you're interested in learning more about emotion recognition technology and all of its implications, be sure to check out the links that we've included in the show notes. And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.